Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm James, and I am currently nursing a very large coffee because my dog decided that 4 a.m. was the prime time to bark at a leaf. How about you? Do you have a pet that thinks they're the boss of the house? I'm definitely feeling a bit sluggish today.
I feel you. My cat usually does the same, but instead of barking, she just sits on my face until I wake up. I'm Elena, by the way. It's so good to be here with you all in our little virtual coffee shop.
Actually, Elena, I was telling my wife this morning that I wanted to start a garden. I said to her, it looks like a good idea to plant some tomatoes, but she just gave me that look. You know, the one that says I'm about to make a mess. Was my English okay there?
It's funny you say that. It's a classic mistake. You said it looks like a good idea, which isn't wrong, but for most native speakers, it sounds a bit off. Usually when we talk about a plan or a concept, we use seem. You should have said, it seems like a good idea.
Wait, really? But I'm looking at the garden space. Doesn't that ring a bell for using the word look?
I see your logic, but look is mostly for things your eyes can actually see, like you look tired or that cake looks delicious. Seem is our powerhouse word because it's a chameleon. It covers feelings, thoughts, and overall impressions. It's about the vibe, not just the eyes.
Oh, I get it. So if my dog looks muddy, that's visual. But if he's acting weird, it seems like he's guilty of eating my socks again. Man, I've been on the fence about using these two correctly for ages.
Exactly. You're starting to get the hang of it already. Once you master seem, your English will sound so much more natural. It really is a powerhouse word because we use it to soften our opinions and sound less bossy.
That sounds like a piece of cake when you put it that way. I'm actually really excited to dive into this. To cut to the chase, we've got a great episode lined up for you today.
We sure do. First, we're going to look at the basic differences between look, seem, and even sound. Then we'll move into the nuance of how to use them in daily conversations. And finally, we'll wrap up with some idioms that will make you sound like a pro.
And hey, if you want to speak more naturally and stop second-guessing yourself, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. We're here to help you navigate these tricky bits of English every week. Are you ready to get started, Elena?
I'm ready. Let's get into the details.
Okay, so I want to start with something that happened this morning. I walked into the kitchen and my wife was just standing there, staring at the toaster. I said, "You look upset," but she didn't say anything. She just pointed at a piece of burnt toast.
Typical. So in that moment, she physically looked upset because of her facial expression, right?
Right, her eyebrows were all bunched up. But then I realized after a minute, she didn't just look upset. She seemed, I don't know, overwhelmed, like the toast was just the final straw.
That is the perfect distinction. You use look for what your eyes see directly. If I see my cat sitting on the windowsill staring at a bird, I'd say he looks focused. His ears are forward, his tail is twitching. It's all visual.
But if I say he seems hungry, I'm using my brain to guess his feelings because he's been meowing for 20 minutes.
Exactly. You're reading between the lines. Seem is about the vibe or the situation. If my husband comes home and doesn't say a word, he might look fine. He's just walking and breathing, but he seems tired because he's unusually quiet.
I think I'm starting to catch on. It's like the difference between a photo and a story. A photo shows how someone looks, but the story tells you how they seem.
I love that analogy. Let's test it. If you see dark clouds in the sky, do you say it looks like rain or it seems like rain?
I'd say it looks like rain because I can see the gray clouds. But wait, could I say it seems like it's going to rain if the air feels humid and the birds have stopped singing?
Spot on. You're really getting the hang of this. Look is for the evidence in front of your nose. Seem is for the conclusion you reach in your head. How about you listening at home? Think about your morning. Did someone you know look happy, or did they just seem like they were in a good mood because they were humming a tune?
That's a deep question for a coffee break. You know, sometimes I come across as confident when I'm talking to my neighbor, but inside I'm actually panicking because I forgot his name. I look cool, but I seem, well, hopefully he doesn't notice I'm struggling.
We've all been in the same boat, James. Don't worry. I once pretended to understand a long story my neighbor told me, even though I was completely lost. I probably looked like I was listening, but I must have seemed a bit confused.
So to recap, look is for the eyes, seem is for the intuition. Like if I see my dog Barnaby hiding under the sofa, he looks small, but he seems terrified of the vacuum cleaner.
Perfect. And if someone looks under the weather, they might have a red nose and watery eyes. But if they seem under the weather, maybe they're just moving a bit slower than usual and aren't laughing at your jokes.
That makes total sense. It's about how much information you have.
Exactly. It's that subtle shift from just using your eyes to using your intuition. Like, I don't just see my cat staring at the wall, I feel like she's judging the wallpaper. It seems that she's unimpressed with my decorating choices.
I get that. My dog does this thing where he sits perfectly still by the fridge. He doesn't just look hungry. It seems that he's trying to use mind control to make me open the door. It's a vibe.
Precisely. And did you notice the structure you used? It seems that, followed by a full sentence. This is such a useful tool for learners. It's like a get-out-of-jail-free card for grammar. You just say, it seems that, and then add your thought.
I love a good shortcut. But what about those longer, fancier versions? You know, when my wife tells me I seem to have forgotten our anniversary, which, for the record, only happened once.
Oh, the to have forgotten structure. That's a bit more advanced, isn't it? We use seems plus a perfect infinitive to talk about an impression we have now about something that happened in the past. It's like saying, based on the evidence I see now, I think you forgot earlier.
Right, because she's looking at me holding a bag of groceries instead of a bouquet of flowers. I seem to have dropped the ball on that one.
Nice idiom, to drop the ball, to make a mistake. And you use the grammar perfectly. How about you listening at home? Have you ever had a moment where you thought, I seem to have lost my phone, only to realize it was in your hand the whole time? We've all been there, right?
Every single day, Elena. Usually it's my keys in the refrigerator. It seems that my brain just goes on vacation sometimes. But hey, is there a difference between it seems that and it looks like when we're being abstract?
That's a great question. Often they are interchangeable, but looks like stays a bit closer to visual evidence. If I say, it looks like it's going to rain, I'm probably looking at gray clouds. But if I say, it seems that our plans are up in the air, I'm talking about the whole situation being uncertain.
Up in the air. I like that. Like a balloon or just undecided?
Just undecided. For example, my husband and I were going to go hiking, but with his sore back, the whole trip is up in the air. It seems likely that we'll just stay home and watch a movie instead.
That sounds like a piece of cake compared to hiking up a mountain anyway. Much easier. But wait, can I say it seems like instead of it seems that?
You definitely can. In casual conversation, it seems like is incredibly common. It seems like you've bitten off more than you can chew with that sandwich, James.
Hey, it's a very large sandwich. But you're right, I probably have bitten off more than I can chew. It seems that my hunger was bigger than my stomach.
Exactly. Let's cut to the chase. Seems is your best friend when you want to sound polite or less bossy. If I say, you are wrong, it's aggressive. If I say, it seems that there might be a misunderstanding, it's much softer, right?
Oh, definitely. It's the ultimate polite person word. I use it with my neighbor all the time when her dog digs up my flowers. It seems that your dog has been gardening again.
Haha, that's much better than shouting. It keeps the peace. So remember, whether you use it seems that or the more complex he seems to have, you're moving beyond just what you see and into the world of impressions and possibilities. At least it seems as though everything is under control. That's actually a great phrase to start our spotlight today, James.
It seems as though. It sounds a bit more serious than just saying I think, doesn't it? It has a bit of weight to it.
It does. It's a bit more sophisticated. You'll hear it a lot in offices or in more formal settings. For example, if a manager says, it seems as though we might have a problem with the budget, they aren't just guessing. They've likely seen some evidence. It's a polite way of saying something is probably true.
I see. It's like saying the evidence points to this. I actually used it this morning. I looked at the kitchen floor and said to my wife, it seems as though the dog has found his way into the trash again.
Oh no, did he really? I thought you were keeping the bin in the cupboard now.
I was, but he's getting smarter. Every single piece of paper was shredded across the rug. He looked so proud of himself, honestly. I couldn't even be mad.
See, a perfect use of the phrase. It's about making a clear observation based on what's in front of you. But James, that actually leads us perfectly to our second idiom, which is something you clearly didn't do before getting a dog who thinks trash is a snack.
Hey, I love that dog, even if he is a bit of a disaster. But what's the phrase?
The phrase is, look before you leap.
Oh, I've heard that one before. It's about being careful and not rushing into things, right?
Exactly. It means you should think about the possible dangers or consequences before you do something big. Don't just jump in with your eyes closed. My husband is the absolute king of this. He's so cautious.
Is he? I feel like I'm the opposite. I get an idea and I just go for it. My cousin is like your husband, though. He's perfect at everything. He spent 6 months researching which toaster to buy. 6 months for a piece of metal that burns bread.
Well, maybe 6 months is a bit much, but he was definitely looking before he leaped. My husband is a civil engineer, so his whole life is about checking things twice. Before we started our garden, he spent weeks testing the soil and drawing diagrams. I just wanted to plant some flowers.
I feel you. I'm the guy who buys a bunch of plants, sticks them in the dirt, and then wonders why they died 2 days later. I guess I didn't look before I leaped on that one.
Precisely. You just leaped. It's important to take a breath. How about you, listeners? Are you like James, jumping right into new projects? Or are you the type of person who needs a spreadsheet and a plan before you even buy a new pair of shoes? Do you always look before you leap?
I bet a lot of people are like me, Alina. It's much more exciting to just leap and see what happens.
It might be more exciting, James, but it's usually more expensive when it goes wrong.
You're not wrong there. I'm still thinking about that expensive automatic pet brush I bought last week. My dog is terrified of it. It's currently sitting at the bottom of my junk drawer.
Well, it seems as though you've learned a valuable lesson, at least for this week.
Oh, I've learned it, Elena. Believe me, the lesson is loud and clear. But now, out of the blue, I want to see if you and our listeners can actually put this into practice. I don't want to be the only one struggling today.
Oh, a challenge. I like it. My cat is currently staring at me from the bookshelf with a very judgmental expression, so I better perform well or I'll never hear the end of it.
He's a tough critic. Okay, here's the game. I'm going to give you a simple, direct observation about something happening in my life. You and everyone listening have to transform it using looks or seems based on the context. Ready to be put on the spot?
I'm ready. Bring it on, James.
All right, situation number 1. I walk into the living room and my dog is sitting perfectly still. There is a trail of white fluff leading from the sofa to his paws, and he won't make eye contact with me. The sentence to transform is, the dog is guilty. Elena, what do you think? And you at home, what's the answer?
Well, since you can see the physical evidence, the fluff and his posture, I would say the dog looks guilty. It's a visual observation.
Spot on. He totally looks guilty, mostly because he destroyed my wife's favorite pillow. She's going to be so annoyed when she gets home from the hospital later. Okay, situation number 2. My neighbor is standing behind her curtains again. She's holding her binoculars and shaking her head while watching the delivery truck outside. Transform this. She is unhappy with the noise.
Ooh, that's a bit trickier. What do you think, listeners? Is it looks or seems?
I'll give you a second. Okay, the answer I'm looking for is she seems unhappy. Even though we see her shaking her head, the unhappiness is an impression we have of her internal state. It's an interpretation of the situation.
Exactly. It's an evaluation of her mood. My neighbor is the same way. She watches everyone from her window like a hawk. I think she just enjoys being grumpy.
Right? It's like a hobby for them. Okay, last one. My wife left me a 5-page to-do list on the kitchen counter. I've already lost my car keys in the refrigerator again, and the vacuum cleaner just broke. The sentence is, this day is a disaster. Elena?
Oh, James, you really bit off more than you could chew this morning, didn't you? For that one, I'd say this day seems like a disaster. It's the overall vibe of your morning. It's not just one thing you see, it's the whole complicated situation.
Exactly. It definitely seems that way. I was going to say it looks like a nightmare, but seems captures that feeling of everything is going wrong much better.
See? When you break it down like that, it's a piece of cake. How did you do at home? Did you get all 3 right? It's all about deciding if you're describing what your eyes see or what your brain is concluding.
I think I'm finally getting the hang of it, although I should probably go find those keys before I start imagining more disasters.
Before you go hunting for those keys, let's quickly wrap things up so our friends listening can get on with their day too. You actually done a great job today, James. You've really started to wrap your head around the difference between look and seem.
Thanks, Elena. I think I finally have it. Look is for the eyes, like when my dog looks like a giant ball of fur after a bath. And seem is for the feeling or the whole situation, like how he seems to think he's a lapdog, even though he's 80 pounds.
That is a perfect summary. It's the physical versus the impression. Even if someone looks professional in a suit, they might seem completely confused during a meeting. It's all about those layers of meaning.
I feel much better about this now. I used to get so stressed about which one to use, but now I'll just ask myself, am I seeing it or am I feeling it?
Exactly. So here is our takeaway challenge for everyone listening. We want to hear from you. Think of a colleague, a friend, or even a recent event you saw on the news. Write 2 sentences in the comments, one using look for a physical description and one using seem for your general impression.
Oh, that's a good one. Like, my neighbor looks very young, but he seems very wise. How about you? Give it a try. We promise we won't judge your grammar. We're all learning here.
And speaking of learning, if you found this helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast. It helps us reach more people who are trying to navigate the tricky parts of English just like you.
Yeah, hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps keep this show going. Plus, it gives me a reason to keep telling stories about my chaotic life instead of actually cleaning my house. My wife would appreciate the support for my hobby.
I'll cut you some slack on the cleaning for today, James, but only because we're about to call it a day anyway.
Fair enough. Well, I'm off to keep an eye out for those keys. I have a sneaking suspicion they are sitting right next to the milk in the refrigerator.
Good luck with the search. Thanks for joining us today, everyone. It was lovely chatting with you all.
Bye, everyone. See you in the next episode.